Hi, friends. Welcome to Enlightened World Network. Dr. Ruth Anderson and Michele Landers here for August 2026, new month numerology. Michele Landers is a board certified life purpose coach, a hypnotherapist, and a professional numerologist. Michele, I didn't think we were going to make it through July. It actually was one of the fastest months I think I remember in history. So I know August has just got to be a downhill calm after the storm of July.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's talk.
Obviously.
We're let's just say that it's still a roller coaster ride till the end of the year and moving forward, but it's okay. I really feel confident that things may appear, chaotic, but let's just talk about it. Let's just get into it. So, thank you, and let's get started. I wanted to address a couple of things. So what happened? You always like to go over stuff and say, okay, but what about this? What about that? So what happened with that Barbell's basket? I wanted to reiterate that it was, well, actually, it still is in effect and is indeed a very rare planetary alignment, even if there was no obvious event that captured our attention. So, again, one of the biggest misconceptions about astrology and numerology and all the psychic sciences for that matter is that every important planetary alignment or transit or number or prediction must produce an immediate headline making event. But that's not how the outer planets work, or any of the psychic sciences for that matter. And I do often say that events that we talk about don't, I say this a lot, it doesn't always happen exactly on the transit date, but we certainly are planting the seeds. And yet, of course, there are times when there is an exact hit, an exact match on the day and event. But overall, this is the energy, and there is the energy, and then there's the tendency. So the planets involved in Barbell's basket, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they all move very slowly. They spend years, and in some cases, decades in a single sign. Their influence is less like a lightning bolt, like Uranus can be, though, and more like a changing of the seasons or changing of the guard. So think about the sunrise. You can't point to the exact moment or the exact second when darkness becomes daylight, yet minute by minute, everything begins to look different. The shift is subtle at first, but before long, an entirely new day has arrived. So I believe that Barbell's basket is like that. Although the basket was most exact between the 19th and the 21st, the deeper planetary pattern is not limited to those 3 days. It represents a much larger cycle that's going to continue to unfold throughout this year, 2027 and beyond. So these slow moving outer planets symbolize broad shifts in our collective consciousness, in technology, in governments, economies, and even in the way we relate to one another. In other words, Barbell's basket wasn't meant to be a cosmic firework display, but I think secretly many of us, really, I did, I hoped it would be, but rather it was laying of a new foundation. All the things, all the changes that Barbell predicted are going to emerge gradually through innovations, evolving social values, new ways of thinking, and decisions that may not seem monumental today, but are shaping our future as they slowly roll out. And again, honestly, I think some things may happen like a flash, like lightning, but overall, what I think is really happening is a subtle turning of the tide. And I also believe, along with Pluto and Aquarius, this basket, they are major turning points for us globally. I have faith, and I hope everybody else has faith too. So August is a 9 universal month in a 1 universal year. Now, we do have to take account, especially this month that's standing alone. August is the 8th calendar month. And I mention that because, okay, so when you add 8 to the universal year of 1, we arrive at 9. But I wanted to mention it because everything that happens this month is also influenced by the backdrop of that number 8, which is very karmic. What is karma? Karma is what we sow, is what we reap, and this is especially true this month. So how is the 9 going to affect us globally? Well, okay, I got to take a little detour because I want to talk briefly about the progression of life cycles. So maybe it becomes a little clearer to people why this 9 is so important. On a universal level, we know that things are cyclical. That's life. All of life bows to cycles. And in numerology, we work with the basic single-digit numbers of 1 to 9. So each individual, each country, our planet has its own cycle of 1 to 9. And very quickly, 1 is male energy, new beginnings, 2 is female, cooperation. These are just very, very quick interpretations. There's so much more to it. 3 is birth and creativity, communication. 4 is work and laying foundations, karma. 5 is changes and integration. 6 is work, health, family. 7 is spirit and going inward. 8 is practical, financial matters, and again, karma. And 9 is the ending cycle. So that's just a brief description, but I guess what I'm wanting to demonstrate is that each year, whether that's personally or globally, we are presented with gifts and challenges of that particular number for our soul's growth, and also on a global soul level, and in our personal life, as indicated by our life path or destiny. So if we learn our lessons and we keep evolving, the challenges won't be as difficult. If we don't learn our lessons, and I've got to assume that's what's happening right now, then they're just going to be hitting us in the face. Like when you hear someone say, I can't believe I'm attracting the same partner, friends, work environment, and sometimes even health issues. So last year, 2025, was a 9 universal year and a major ending and turning point for the world. And think about that for a moment. We experienced, we still are, profound geopolitical shifts, intense political friction, huge technological and energy milestones. And there's no denying that, good or bad, the return of Donald Trump to the US presidency triggered immediate, intense domestic and global polarization. So when any country reaches that 9 year, it has the inclination to bring to the surface the things that are not working for our highest and best. And the number 9 has a tendency to communicate to us that if we don't remove what's not working, the universe will, this year in a 1 year, or even next year, remove for us or somehow change things that aren't working. The rule of thumb with numerology is that you try not to begin anything new in a 9 year, because it won't likely be around for long. Now, of course, that's generally speaking. There are exceptions depending on other transits, but I would tell most people, if you can, in a 9 year, if you can wait till the second half of the year to implement what you want to implement, that'd be great. So with all that said, the fact that Barbell's basket is happening in a 1 year, it gives it longevity, along with the fact that transit-wise, it is a longer transit. So why am I telling you all this? Because I think we are on the right track to witness the dissolution of a lot of corruption. Not everything, of course, that's nearly impossible. but the outrage, the outcrying, the need, the demand for truth, it's all bubbling up to the surface. And Barbell's basket is another big piece of the peace puzzle. So back to August. August is a 9-month globally. So right off the bat, we know that more global events will be in the news in a bigger or louder way than normal. We can expect major transitions, humanitarian focuses, and a sense of a collective major turning point. Also, 9, we know it's an ending cycle. It's also a heightened emotional cycle. So what does that tell us? We can expect endings and outbursts from people and leaders. It's very emotional this month. It feels like gathering of voices, wanting to be heard, wanting to bring about changes, declaring we're not going to tolerate this any longer. In its highest expression, the 9 can bring those things to an end that have outlived their usefulness, things that are no longer sustainable, things that have reached the breaking point or culmination point. It can increase world humanitarian efforts, and I hope we're going to see more of that. We need to be aware that the 9 is telling us it's time to release whatever is not working. It's letting go of beliefs, ideas, things that have outworn their usefulness, and any toxic relationships. And I have to tell you that I know, just talking to people, a lot of people are shifting how they see things and their beliefs, and in a very positive way. So we will see things coming to an end. We will see closures. And this can be relationships, major chapters coming to an end, businesses, corporations, even structures coming down. It's going to bring about endings, changes, and conclusions. Weather-wise, I say this every month because this is what it is. It's just a continuation of wild weather and flooding. And again, this month with the Leo emphasis, a very, very strong emphasis on leaders of the world or people in the public eye, either leaving, passing away, or stepping down. So since this is a 9-month cycle, I really wanted to look backwards last year to October 2025, since I was talking about these cycles from 1 to 9. And where were we? Well, in October of 2025, we were in a 1 numerological month. So I thought conceivably what began or what was happening in October of 2025 could also reappear as endings or a turning point now in the 9-month. Now, there was a lot going on in October, and I didn't capture everything, but interestingly, Iran's 10-year nuclear deal ended in October 2025 in a 1 month. So it was both endings and beginnings for Iran. We captured the president of Venezuela. There were many conflicts worldwide. That was the month that Prince Andrew was stripped of his title, which can indicate, again, something to do with the Epstein files reappearing. Not that they ever went away completely, but maybe now new news. And these were just a few highlights. So it's going to be interesting to see if any of those events or something similar pop up again to be finalized, or maybe even exacerbated. On another note, 9 is ruled by the planet Mars, and my concern is an escalation of the war in Iran. So when we know a 9 cycle is coming, we usually think of terms of, what am I going to lose? What is ending? However, the other side of it, we have to remember that a 9 cycle can bring to close those bad things as well. And as an example, if you've been sick for a while, sometimes a 9 cycle could conceivably bring an end to that illness. When people are familiar with numerology at all and they know they're going into a 9 cycle, they go, oh boy, well, yeah, but hold on. It can, as I said, it can bring an end to bad things as well. A toxic relationship can end. A job that you can't tolerate any longer ends. Actually, this just happened to a friend. She lost her job, but guess what? Almost immediately, that job was toxic for her. And she was really worried. And I did a very short reading on her with the tarot cards. And I said, no, you're going to be fine. There's money coming in. The next day she called me. She got another job offer out of the blue, which she took. So 9 is also about foreigners. It's about religious groups. It's about beliefs. It highlights the education system. It's about travel, issues with travel. So all of these things are activated by the number 9. A positive aspect of the 9, which I mentioned before, is this humanitarian effort. 9 is very much about just selflessly giving. And so I think there's going to be a great outpouring of care and concern about the world at large and what can we do to help heal things. I think more people reaching out to help others worldwide, again, people declaring that's enough and things that they're dissatisfied with. And again, more previously hidden information comes to light. And to intensify all this energy, we have 2 eclipses in August, a solar eclipse on August 12th and a partial lunar eclipse on August 28th. Powerful. Again, about weather, still crazy, more activity on water, in water, over water. And I don't know if anybody remembers this, but I had mentioned about 2 months back a concern about poison water. And yesterday, apparently, and as a result of cyber attacks, which I had said, apparently there was one of the most serious cyber attacks on water systems, which caused, a lot of utilities to issue boil water notices. Unfortunately, prices are going to continue to rise. Stock market still volatile. Bitcoin, same thing. Again, something I mentioned before, I think it's a great idea with a lot of the stuff that's going around about lettuce. If you can possibly plant a garden, that's really such a good idea. Even if it's just different herbs, but there's so many things you could plant that it's not that difficult to grow. This is a bit off topic, but I would suggest investing in a vacuum sealer, because if and when you can find things on sale, buy them, vacuum seal them, freeze them. I just think it's a really good idea. So I want to talk a little bit about the USA. This is an 11-2 month in a 3-year. Okay, so there's a number of things about the number 11, right? First, it's a master number. It's a high spiritual energy. When we come up upon an 11-2, acclimating to this high energy for some people can present a challenge, because for some people they can experience anxiety. The other side of it, though, is it definitely can enhance intuition and psychic ability. 11-2 requires us, demands of us to be cooperative. The 11 and the 2 can cause relationships to be healed or reversely to break. The 11 is governed by Uranus, and that can cause startling events. And again, and that's what was disturbing me, an exacerbation to the war. Okay, so I want to stop here for a moment, because the 2 numbers at the forefront of this month are 9 and, again, for the US, 11. And both numbers are poised to bring an end to the war, to smooth out long-standing differences. But That would be so beautiful. But if we're not living up to the positive expression of the numbers, which are a real striving for peace, for humanitarianism and cooperation, that's when fractures can occur. So the key here is to stay as centered and calm as possible. Good advice anytime, and also to meditate as much as possible, because with the 9, with the 11, it is very emotionally heightened and intense. So let's go through some of the astrological aspects. So August 3rd, Chiron retrogrades in Taurus. So what is Chiron? The wounded healer. So over the next several months, old emotional wounds can resurface, not to hurt us, but to heal us. And this retrograde invites us to examine and heal wounds around our self-worth and what we feel we deserve. And it asks the question, what was or is this experience trying to teach me? From August 3rd through the 5th, we have Mars making a square to the midheaven. Mars, we know Mars is action, it's aggression. The midheaven is the status, the leadership, it's administration, our public image, it's friction. Could be legal, more legal stuff coming up, more legal clashes, some type of gridlock of some type, a push-pull type of energy. It's tension. It's not seeing eye to eye. And there are other transits that can also bring illusions up, things to be re-examined, and deceptions up to be re-examined. Like, what was that really all about? Now, on August 6th, we have Venus entering Libra, and this is like a breath of fresh air. Venus is at home in Libra. So this is, despite a lot of the other energy, this is like a little respite. It's a nice energy. It's beauty. It's romance. It's healing relationships. It's a desire for harmony. Some relationships become a little gentler. It's a wonderful time to restore balance. What else? To beautify your surroundings, reconnect with loved ones, or maybe a relationship that you would like to revisit, that you'd like to repair. Emotionally, globally, it's a 7-day, which is very spiritual and analytical, but things from the past resurfacing. For the USA, it's a 9-day, again, so it's kind of emotional and can bring some type of endings, but it is connected to the world globally. Now, August 8th, we have what comes around every year, excuse me, is the Lionsgate portal. So let's just talk about that for a minute. The Lionsgate portal isn't really a classical astrological transit, but we could use the energy for meditation and intention setting, and being grateful, because it is believed that this energy amplifies spiritual awareness, plus personal transformation, new possibilities. The Lionsgate invites us to pause, reflect, excuse me, and reconnect with our highest potential. But why August 8th? Excuse me, I was so curious about that. Symbolically and numerologically, the number 8 represents personal power, abundance, achievement, infinite possibilities. It also represents spiritual and material balance. 8 asks us to balance the spiritual world with the material world. Astronomically, it's associated with the annual rising of Sirius, the brightest star in our night sky. And Sirius is also known by many ancient civilizations as the spiritual sun. So the Egyptians watched for this rising because it coincided closely with the annual flooding of the Nile. And that was considered a life-giving event that brought fertile soil, abundance, and renewal. So to them, Sirius symbolizes rebirth and new beginnings. So on August 8th, I would suggest spending a few quiet moments asking yourself, in conjunction with everything that's going on this month, what am I ready to release? What am I ready to become? And what would I do if I trusted my soul more than my fear? And I think a lot of people are going through these transitions. I feel it. I see it. I talk to people who are wanting just to change things. It's a lot of anxiety that's going on. A lot of people are not only thinking about the world at large, but in their personal life, they're thinking, I need to change things. So moving on to August 9th, excuse me, Mercury enters Leo. We know that Mercury is communication, and what's Leo is bold. So we can expect people being outspoken, but also being creative. There's a lot of creativity with this energy, but we have to watch a lot of exaggeration. It's good for performing arts, public speaking, new creative ideas, but it's large, it's big. So things are exacerbated or things are bold and loud, but very creative. So I like that. August 11th, Mars moves out of Gemini, which is so fast moving, into the slower, the more emotional sign of Cancer. So now our thoughts and energy are more focused, for whatever reason, on home, also concern about our security, protecting our family. But with Mars here, I would have to say, emotionally, again, it can be intense. Now, August 12th, we have the new moon solar eclipse in Leo. This is a really important transit. Leo is the sign of the heart, but it's also leadership. It's courageous. It's also ego. So new moon eclipses often close one chapter while quietly opening another. Sometimes nothing visible happens on the day of the eclipse. Sometimes a major event happens on that day. But it's important to understand that eclipses can unfold over the following 6 months. And then weeks or months later, we look back and realize, wow, that was when everything started to change. So we do know that an eclipse marks the beginning of a new chapter. But again, I have to mention, it has a really heavy emphasis on leaders and on things having to do with leadership. It could mark the beginning, some type of change in power. It can bring shocking news. Numerologically, it is both an 11-2, surprises, and a 13-4 day. So those are very powerful numbers. And on a personal level, it just asks us or invites us to live authentically rather than simply meeting everyone else's expectation. So, okay, let's move forward to August 14th, 15th, Mercury conjunct Jupiter. This is a think big, dream big. It's big ideas. Communication can be expansive. There can be attempts at expanding power. I don't know what that looks like, but it is expansion and it is power. It does bring confidence, but it also can bring overconfidence. It's visionary it works so well as a visionary transit as long as you have the good of the whole in mind. Okay, so August 17th, we have Venus and Libra sextile Jupiter, and this brings in some nice energy, joy, maybe creativity, social connections, good for celebrations. It's just nice. I like this energy a lot. August 20th is just kind of a day of quiet integration, a lot of moon activity. And the moon moves fast, but we're no longer standing at the threshold of the Leo solar eclipse. However, we haven't reached the release, which is coming up, of the Pisces lunar eclipse. So it's a day that we could use to strengthen relationships, tune into our intuition, remain open to the unexpected. It could even bring in talks of some type of agreement that could be globally or even, of course, personally. Now, August 21st to 22nd, we have the sun that now enters Virgo. So we had Leo, which inspires, and now Virgo says, well, now what? What are you going to do? Are you going to organize, declutter? It's a good time with the sun entering Virgo to improve things, to simplify things. So let's move to, we might have to do around the 23rd. We're getting into a conjunction with Mars on the ascendant. Okay. We might have to do around that time some kind of course correction. Now, it could have to do with agreements or some terms that have to be renegotiated. I don't know, maybe a ceasefire, but maybe something just starts up again. Now, August 28th, we have the full moon and partial lunar eclipse in Pisces, where the Leo solar eclipse planted seeds. The Pisces lunar eclipse helps us release what no longer is helpful or no longer belongs. It's like the great release. So the month ends with this eclipse, and it reminds us to surrender, to release fears, to release old stories, to release limiting beliefs, to release those beliefs that aren't serving us anymore, emotional baggage, and just letting go. So if I were to summarize August's theme in one sentence, it would be August invites us to courageously open our hearts, trust new beginnings, and release whatever no longer serves our highest good. And it isn't a month for making new or big plans. It's more about paying attention to your immediate environment to appreciate the little things. And I did have the tarot cards for the month, which emphasizes this. Okay, let's see. The first is the major arcana, and that is the Hermit, right? So why would we have the Hermit? The Hermit stands alone on a mountain, holding a lantern to guide the way for others. And this is all about deep soul searching, inner wisdom, solitude, taking a step back from the chaos of everything that's going on, seeking your authentic truth. And there seems to be like this beautiful thread running through the month. The Chiron retrograde heals our roots. Lionsgate on the 8th awakens our courage. The Leo solar eclipse inspires new beginnings. Virgo seasons helps us to nurture what we've already planted. And then wrapping it up with the Pisces lunar eclipse asks us to release what has been, what's done, what's completed, and what served its purpose. So all in all, it can be and very emotional, but I think and in many ways an exciting month. So tap into your inner wisdom. Oh, the other card was the moon card. And that is telling me that things are coming up from the depths. It's also very watery, things coming up from the depths of underneath the scorpion to release and to show us more of what's been corrupt. So that's the month in a nutshell. And I have a lot of positive feelings, though, about this month, despite the changes that may be going on. And so have faith and tune into your intuition. And that wraps it up. So thank you.
Wow, Michele, thank you. You know, one thing that you said that I'm not only going to create a meme of, but I think I'm going to stick on a mirror somewhere was, what could I become if I trusted my soul rather than my fear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, brilliant. That would work every day of the month.
I agree. And yeah, yeah. And that for me personally, that's something that I'm going through. So
Yeah,
yes, it's
yeah,
very telling.
it is. So, Michele, let us know how to connect with you and what can we get if we do connect with you?
Okay, well, thank you for that. All you have to do is you can go to michellelanders.com. As Ruth said, I'm a board certified life coach and hypnotherapist. I just recently got another certification, by the way, and a numerologist, of course. And I do use numerology with my coaching if people allow me to. But if you want to just chat with me, you can have a free 15-minute discussion, consult, whatever, and just go to Michele Landers, Michele with 1L.com, and go in there and make an appointment, and you can get a free 15 minutes with me, or you can have your chart done. So it's a great thing to do for next year. You know, we're getting to the end of the year, so it's good to know what we can expect next year, everyone on a personal level. Forewarned is forearmed. Sorry,
Yeah.
but I'd like to change that a little bit. I think I would like to say that it's exciting because you want to work with the numbers, not against it. And I can talk more about what that exactly means if you want to give me a call. So thank you.
All right, perfect. All right, friends, stay tuned because here coming up on Enlightened World Network, Michele's going to walk us through the personal month numbers. So stay tuned and we'll be joining you just in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Take care. Bye.